Hi, this is Miranda. Here's a quick recap of what we talked about last week. So we talked about how Joel and I were troublemakers and got Saturday school. We also chatted about my junior year, his senior year production of Footloose. Well, this week we are interviewing my husband, Dakota. If you know Dakota, you know he swears like a sailor. So we have a lot of bleeps in this episode, and that's why. But we love him for it anyway. All right, enjoy.
Welcome to Small Town Snarks. I'm Joel.
And I'm Miranda. Let's get snarky. My husband, Dakota, who also knew us in high school, so very fitting for him to be our first guest and talk more about what our high school experience was like and how it shaped us to be able to do what we do today.
Yeah. It was It's funny. Before I joined theater, like officially, we would never have become friends. Like, I was on a completely different trajectory with my young adult life at that time, and then I straightened out pretty quickly. Thank God for that. But it's funny to think that, like, if I had never done, what was that show? Let's see if I can remember the name. It was one of the. Oh, I can't remember. I just remember and a bunch of other people, and I was like playing a tech person, and I was like walking around stage just like with a walkie-talkie.
Was this dessert theater?
Yes. I can't remember the name of the show.
Dessert theater.
Yes, I remember there was some large battle axe in it and it broke, and it's just funny.
I'm trying to remember.
But that was like the first time I did anything after like elementary school.
So what made you do it?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember why I decided to do it. It was probably somebody suggested to do it, or I was a very impulsive kid, so I may have just decided day of to just go and try to do it.
Yeah.
But then I loved it, right? And so I did 12th night. I think it was like immediately after that. I auditioned for that, and that was a ton of fun. So, and since then it's been like downhill. It's completely consumed my entire life. My garage, my home. My wife. Like, it's everything.
So you mentioned you played, you were in 12th night.
Yeah,
What other roles did you play in high school?
So, okay, I had a couple of highlights, right?
I have a personal favorite, but
I also have a personal favorite. So I think that my personal favorite is probably the Earthworm.
Oh, yes, that was my personal
is that right?
favorite.
The Earthworm is my favorite role that I've played in, like, probably in my entire high school career.
That was James and the Giant Peach.
That was James and the Giant Peach, correct. And I have such a vivid memory, and I'll never forget this. And I can't remember what show it was, but I will remember the sensation forever. It was like the beginning of the show, and we're introducing all of the fun insects, and like, haha, the Earthworm is blind, he can't see. So the entire time, I'm staring off into space, and like my cue line comes and goes, and I'm just like, and then I like wake up, and I'm like, I'm doing a show, I'm on a stage, there's a bunch of people watching me, I'm very scared right now, and then it was fine. But like, I just remember completely blanking out, and it was eerily silent, and I was like, I feel like there should be sounds right now. Oh, it's me. It was supposed to be me the whole time. So yeah, Earthworm, that's my favorite one. I was Link Larkin in Hairspray.
Yeah, you were. Playing opposite. Who was your Amber?
Who was my Amber?
Yeah.
Well, that would be my beautiful wife. Which was really funny, because we were together at the time, right?
We were,
We were, right, okay.
We had just started dating before Hairspray.
Before Hairspray.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was just, I didn't want to be that role at all. That's not me. Like, I'm like a character guy through and through. Like, that is the most boring milquetoast human being imaginable. I do not want to be Link Larkin. But alas, there we go.
Tell the people what role you wanted to be.
Oh, what's the father's name? I wanted to be the dad.
Yeah.
Tracy's
dad.
Uh-huh.
Tracy's dad is the best role, 100%. But alas, no, dreams don't come true.
You heard it here
His
first.
name is Wilbur. Sorry.
Wilbur, thank you,
Wilbur.
Thank you.
You wanted to be Wilbur.
This is
Okay.
gonna. I'm going to embarrass myself can sit like repeatedly when I'm just like, and what's the show with? It's just like Phantom of the Opera. And I'm just like, right, no, with the chandelier, right? That's the one, and with the mask, yeah. Like I haven't done theater for like 10 years. So Link Larkin, Earthworm. I was Andrew Augustcheek in 12th Night. I was some random businessman in How to Succeed in Business.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was doing business.
Random business.
I was the shop owner in Sweeney Todd and a String of Pearl and the String of Pearls or whatever.
Yep.
And that's a good one. God, what else did I do? I remember being Cupid once. I wore a diaper on stage for something. I think it was another dessert theater
That
type
sounds
of
like
thing. Yeah. Is that it? I can't remember. You're gonna have to fill in the blanks.
I'm pretty.
Did I catch him? I didn't catch all of them. Probably not.
You were also in Charlie Brown.
I can't recall the character's name.
I don't remember the character's name, and you were in Best Christmas Pageant Ever. You were one of the
I was
delinquents.
one of the little scary children. I do remember during rehearsal for that where I kicked a plastic baby into the audience.
I'm thank you for specifying plastic.
Well, naturally, it wasn't a real baby.
Oh my gosh. So you mentioned playing opposite of Miranda. When do you remember the first time you met Miranda? And me, for that matter.
So the first time I met Miranda was definitely like in middle school, almost certainly.
Okay.
I don't recall when we first met. It was probably in some class.
I don't remember either, to be honest.
I don't remember either. We were just, like I knew her face, and then we went to high school together, and then we weren't really great friends. We were friendly, right?
Right.
But like
we became close when we did film festival together for the first time.
Yeah. Which I don't know, like, what my impetus for, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what started that. Like, do you? That's a story for another time.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
We can't go into that.
Different podcast.
But I do remember.
Entirely different podcast.
So I directed the Charlie Brown Christmas, and that's kind of when I started having a crush on you. And I remember seeing how well you could skate, and I was like, oh man, this is the guy for me.
Dude, it's manual coordination is really sexy. It's like dexterity is very sexy. Yes.
But yeah, you were just flying across that stage on those roller skates.
I had been ice skating before, and it was like it's the same thing, but like it's not as cold. Great. I love that.
It's the simplicity of it.
Yeah, very simple. Very simple. Yeah.
I also remember with Hairspray, so we had just started dating, and then we got cast as Amber and Link, and we were actually on our way to the Shakespeare Festival. Something.
Yeah.
And
Folger Shakespeare Library does it's not international, it's like a national, maybe not national, I don't know. It's a bunch of people come and do Shakespeare shows at the.
And we were on the bus, and the cast list had just gone out, and our drama teacher made a point of telling us, like, you better not break up during the show. And I remember telling her, I was like, well, wouldn't it be better for our characters if we did? I was like, they have a lot of, like, toxicity towards each other.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, the Shakespeare, like, we I don't know the scope of, like, what we should get into, right? Because the whole Shakespeare arc is, like, a different it's, like, a parallel path to the normal story of, the theater history at Walker. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to get into that later at some point. I don't know if that'll happen now, but, that was definitely, like, a really fun part of me getting to interface and learn, like theater that I wasn't being taught that. I had to go seek it out.
Right. Like, and you started that whole thing at the high school.
Like there was I just wanted to do like I can't remember what, I guess it was Julius Caesar was the first one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just really want to, like, we should do this. I really want to do this. So we just got one of the English teachers and just started a department, so we had an excuse to do the show. So we had an excuse for me to be in a show.
Sure.
Which is great. Like, and I got to be Cassius, and it was great. And then, like, from there on, it just kind of I spawned a department a little group. I can't call it a department. There's no way they got money.
Well, the theater.
Yeah, like it was already, it was cooked.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kept doing that year after year after, it was great. And we got to go to the Folger Shakespeare Library. I ended up doing a fellowship there my senior year, which was amazing. And I got to see one of, theoretically, if they weren't lying to my face, one of Shakespeare's like original folios. It was a copy of the original folio. So it was like one of the things that would have been printed out and handed to somebody, right? Like it was like a product. It wasn't like his personal, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that would be amazing.
No, he didn't make, like, actually, no. But it was very, very, very cool to see something like from the same time period. It was like that was like he was there writing his stuff when some dude got to read this. Like was just handed to, like, it blew my mind. It was absolutely mind blowing. Sorry, that was tangential.
No, that's great.
That's great. Yeah. So I guess my next question for you is transitioning from high school, and I know you were active in theater. You've been active in theater. What was your first thought, and when did you really first become involved with Small Town Stars?
So, yeah,
I'm gonna assume day one. Probably.
No, actually, it was like last week. Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, of course, it was from the beginning. Like Miranda and I started the company together, so it's the reason why I went to college to pursue stagecraft. Like that was originally I wanted to go to school to be an actor, and I was like, I need to learn stagecraft because nobody else can do it right now. And I learned a ton from that department because they had no help and they needed help, and I was relatively smart, so I could do it. And I was able to take all of that knowledge and bring it back and try to do stuff. And I feel like you can see my progression as like a technician and an artist through the scenic design of like probably the first 4 or 5 shows that STS does. And I just remember it feeling so fucking impossible to do any of it. Like I would get into arguments with Miranda about how this just can't happen. None of this can happen. There's no way this is possible at all.
And I would say, it needs to happen.
Something has to happen, so we're gonna do it. And then something would happen, and it just blows my mind that it still happens every time. But now we have it kind of down to a science, which is great. But like, from the beginning where I started, like we weren't sure we were gonna make it past the first show, right? If we were lucky, Miranda was like, I want to put on a show. I want my own company to put on a show. If we're able to do another one, great. If we can't, then so be it. So the fact that we were able to recoup our losses, like from the get-go, and do it again, and then keep rolling again and again, year after year, like it's every small win adds up so significantly over the years. The interest is compounded so quickly. Where we're almost 10 years in, and I wouldn't recognize what the company looked like back when we did Heathers or Spring Awakening or any of that.
So what was your initial reaction when I said I want to start a company and do a show?
I didn't know what was going to happen, but I figured I wasn't doing anything as interesting or cool, so we may as well, right?
Right.
Right. What else is there to do? It's either that or get a boring job, which lo and behold, we all have boring jobs. The fucking reality is.
Spoiler alert: none of us do this for a living.
Yeah, none of us do this for a living, unfortunately. So we had to go get, accrue other skills while trying to upskill in doing theater, which is hard, impossible, maybe. I don't know. I got sidetracked. What was the question?
You answered it.
You did.
Good.
You did answer.
Great.
Yeah.
Then keep them coming. Then I'm killing it. Yeah, no problem.
I think it's the point that you made about starting out and looking at the company where it was at the beginning to where it is now is just such an interesting perspective to look at it. There's been a lot of change over almost 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
New people have come and gone, and more shows each season, and
right.
We've built up kind of this group of people who are like STS family, and it's all thanks to you all, really jumping off with that original idea and vision, and
taking the risk.
And here we are now.
That's the biggest thing, is taking the risk. and putting ourselves in situations that it's really fucking difficult, like deciding that we're gonna base our company out of a county that we don't live in, and having to drive almost an hour every day just to get to the rehearsal space, let alone another 45, 50 minutes to go back.
Exactly.
After work. Which was just great.
I mean, those early years,
that was rough.
Remember with you all just the number of late night trips and like all nighters,
painting the fucking flats for Legally Blonde in Miranda's garage. You know, like that's all the nonsense.
Yeah,
all of it.
Which will break down all the nonsense. Show
this
by
is
show.
just the service.
This is just a preview.
Yeah.
Oh yes. So
this is what I can remember.
What has been your favorite memory from the company so
That's
far?
so funny that you just said that after that. What is my favorite?
It definitely was painting all night long for Legally Blonde.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Sure.
No, I think when I was trying to figure out the design for Audrey 2.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, I'm taking a chance. I literally watched one video, gave me no dimensions. I was just like, it's probably going to be about this big. This is how big I want to make it. Mm-hmm. And when I built it and it worked, I was like, incredible. And then the best part is that it was able to fit, because we were in, we haven't talked about the Pantherplex, right?
We have not.
We're gonna go right past that real quick. So I was just I was there in our area that I'm sure we will discuss later.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And we had to. It was basically a school, right? So we had these, the school like hallway double doors. And I was like, I didn't really check to see if this could fit through the doorway. I had never really checked. In my head, I thought I checked, or I was like, it's probably fine, and that motherfucker slipped right on through. Uh-huh. All right, it was like I planned the whole thing. It was like I knew what I was doing. It was incredible. So that was probably one of my favorite. And then seeing people get really excited, and then having people go down and like get eaten by Audrey too. Yeah. And that's when people started to be like, oh my God, it's really happening. We're actually going to have it. And then Jen came in clutch with the puppets, like the actual foam puppeting, because like that level of artistry. I was like, I'll build the mechanical part, like the plant part, but like you got to make it look like a plant. I'm just too bad. I'm not
it
good
looks
enough.
So good.
Yeah, it looked great.
I have like several core memories from the company over the years, and like one of them will always be that reveal at the top of Act 2 when the curtain opened and the audience saw the final Audrey 2 for the
they
first
would clap
time.
every time.
Yeah, they would clap every time.
It was
amazing.
amazing.
Also was something like really symbolic about it being like one of the first couple of shows post-pandemic where like people were back in the theater for the first time and like experiencing stuff like that again.
Right,
and it was kind of a magical moment.
It was great
as far as theater is concerned. So
it
was great. And like we've, like we're a community theater. We do the best we can with what we have, with the skills we have as like non-union professional. Like I'm not getting work as a stagehand anywhere. Probably could if I wanted to, but that's not my job. I don't really do that. Maybe one day, but like no, I'm gonna keep doing my other job.
Yeah.
So like I'm just so thankful for like the people who have come out and have been able to like really take initiative and just decide like this is how we're gonna do things and we're gonna make this happen. And like I'm gonna get the skills that are necessary to make it happen. Like it was a big motivator for me. Like before that, I don't know what the hell I was doing. So it's like either pick up a drill or like I don't know, go join the army or some shit.
I think there's a really great conversation there about growth and like how we as a company, in order to grow, needed that additional support because we're all individual people who cannot be in 12 different places at once.
We can't.
It takes so much.
We can't. We tried. We did. Yeah. We did for a little bit.
Yeah.
We did for a little bit.
Yeah. We definitely stretched ourselves very thin for a long time.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's your favorite thing to do in theater?
Probably technical direction. Because if I have people that I like, it feels like everything just goes perfect. Like it's just very smooth. You're only like being able to plan all these pieces and have a firm understanding of how all these different parts of theater interoperate with each other. It just it makes you more patient. Like you understand that things take time and why they take time. And that's actually the biggest thing. Like I can't even think of another thing bigger than that, because like being like, especially with a community theater where we're taking volunteers regularly and we're trying to, expose people who have never experienced any sort of technical anything like part of theater, and saying, hey, I need your help to like run these DMX cables for my lights. And they're just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you're gonna find out, and by the time we're done, you're gonna know a bunch more. And that's the best part. Like that's the most exciting thing. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought. It's gone.
It's okay.
I looked at your hat.
Yeah, I've always got a hat on.
Yeah.
Have you, with all of your years with the company, have you had a favorite show that you've been a part of, and maybe just one show overall, or maybe it's the same show? Or
so favorite show I've been a part of, man. I've been a part of a lot of shows. Like, do you mean like as a cast member?
Sure.
Or just like involved in general?
I think involved in general would be.
Because involved in general is like, well, like the first half of the company, and then like it wasn't really until like the last year where I've had to like piece out a little bit because work is hard. But oh man, it's hard for me not to say Puffs. I think I have to say, like, as far as shows that I've been in and been a part of, I was in Puffs. I built a set for Puffs. Like, I built those stupid archways that we've used for like 7 years for Puffs. I mean, not 7 years, it's been like 2. But still, like I built those for Puffs. Like I started learning lessons from our previous show.
We always ask our guests 3 questions to kind of wrap up each conversation.
Okay.
The first one that I wanted to ask was, what is one show you want to see STS perform in the future, and why?
Falsettos.
Ooh,
I love that show. I think it's a brilliant show. I think the pacing is unbeatable. Like it just, there's something about how it's written. It's just it's very close to my perfect musical, at least that I've seen. STS won't be doing that for a while, I don't think, just because it's hard to sell. Hopefully one day. But that's my goal.
It is a beautiful show.
It is a beautiful
show.
I know it's favorites for both of you.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure.
For sure.
Thinking back, we talked earlier about when you first started with the company, which was from
the
day
beginning.
one.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
If you could go back now with all the knowledge that you have through the last roughly 8 years, and tell your younger self any piece of advice, what would it be?
I would probably tell him that you're going to be a web developer anyway, so start doing that now instead of waiting until you're like in your late 20s.
What about theater-related advice?
Theater-related advice. Figure out ways to expand our volunteer base faster. Because we weren't at a point where we were organized enough to get the help that we needed, which really, really sucked. So I think that's probably what I would go back and say is like, hey, try to sort out what your problems are so other people can help you with them. Because right now it's just like you and Miranda, and it's real bad. Like it's just real stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing I've learned that kind of separates it. Like, I guess I could go back and say, like, hey, study more about stagecraft because, like, you're really bad at it or something. But, like, people that were better and more inclined to do that came later to help. So I think the priority was figure out what your problems are, try to compartmentalize them enough that somebody else can do it.
Right.
Because otherwise you're just burning yourself out.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. All right, and the last question is, with our 10th anniversary season coming up in
Yup.
about a year and a half.
Crazy.
What do you hope, or where do you hope to see the company in 2026?
My pipe dream is that we have a theater.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the ultimate pipe dream, is that we have our own space. Like, we've been running on tour for a while. We had a brief stint where we had, like, some semblance of a home. That was great for a little bit. And, you know, we're right back to our old ways now. And it's less stressful, and we have the experience, so it's not... We know what to expect, which is great. Like, it's not a surprise. We're not struggling to figure out logistics on how to unload and load a show into the, you know, the Arts Council or whatever for like the millionth time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I want to see. I want to see our own space. I want to see us develop our brand better, and I want to see different ways that we can engage the community to do theater with us. It's just hard to figure that out when you're bogged down. We're going through these kind of cycles. We have these ebbs and flows of, like, we get all of these things organized and together, and we get other people to help us, and then things get more complicated because we have more people helping us. And then you have to do that again, you know, over and over again as you get bigger. It's a great problem to have when you have more people than problems to solve. But what happens is a lot of people just, like, kind of mess things up. Which is, like, you know, I can't be mad. And there's, you know, a bunch of great examples of, like, too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to, like, specifically scenic design and scenic artistry. I think Beauty and the Beast struggled with that a lot. But along with other shows where, you know, that's a problem that I wouldn't have encountered if it was, you know, the first full season we did with, like, Puffs, because I was just the guy designing and building it. So it was like, well, if the director likes it, then we're fine. But it's become, like, a more complicated hierarchy of, like, who needs to be talking to who about what, and who can say it's okay. Like, who is the, you know, the gavel of truth of saying, like, hey, this is what we're doing now. So I think, like, we need to kind of, like, grow and expand on that and try to really revamp our hierarchy and understand how to onboard more people. It's the same process every time, right? It's you know, compartmentalize your problems, you know, so they're easy enough to understand so other people can do them. Like, that's it. That's the basis of how you expand. So.
Well, if you look at, we really started doing, I mean, it wasn't even a full season. It was like half a season in 2021.
Yeah.
And now we're at the end of 2024. So we're talking a span of 3 years.
Yeah.
And the growth we've experienced in 3 years is exponential.
It's more than the 3 years before, like, all of it. Like,
100%.
Like, it's ridiculous, and I think a big part of that is because we doubled down and we committed on putting out more shows for people to interact with.
Yes.
And with that, with doing these additional shows, we had best case scenario, which is, you know, more volunteers, more funding, more opportunities. So it definitely, like, what you're reflecting on are growing pains, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great problem to have, but it's also, and as we go through each show, the people listening will kind of see how fast that growth actually happened, because before that we were doing one show a year up until 2019, and then COVID hit in 2020, and then 2021 was when we did 3 shows. Now we're talking like 8 shows if you include our camps.
Right,
so
and that's another thing.
Crazy.
Is that we really kind of we expanded vertically and horizontally, right?
Right.
Like, we changed the things that we were doing. We added more ways for people to interface with the company, which is, like, the biggest thing, right? Is find more ways to get people involved, 100%. And I think we did a great job with that by expanding our main stage and also our secondary kind of activities, like our camps and our intensives and things like that. You know, don't hit the table, Dakota. Don't do that. Yeah, no, I think that's an incredible thing to reflect on. And it's really easy to see now that it was worth it. back then it was really hard to see if it was going to be worth it, and it was so much extra work to get it done. But it's so easy to see now that it was obviously worth it.
Well, there were so many times that we were in the trenches, and we'll touch on that. But it was like every show for a long time. There were times where we were running on zero sleep, just trying to make it happen.
Yep.
And yeah, like hindsight, I think everyone in this room would say 100% it was worth the pain and the effort to get to where we are now. But I think it's amazing that we still, have these bigger goals, and just looking back on it, you look at how much we've grown in just the span of 3 years. I mean, that's almost unheard of for most businesses. So it's really exciting to see.
A nonprofit, for that matter, too. I mean, and it's not. I'm not gonna get all fucking, like, pardon my French again, but I'm not gonna get all business, fucking whatever dork, corpo lang.
And we don't want to spill all our secrets.
And we don't want to spill all our secrets, of course. But we've been able to keep growing in every term, in every sense of the term. And obviously the goal is always more.
Sure.
Which sucks, like, to think of, like, it's a nonprofit, it's about volunteers, but, like, the more people we have, the more things we can do. Right? And we want to be able to do a lot. We want to do theater all the time. And, in order to do that, we need to reach more people and have more people dedicate time to us.
And that's the ultimate goal, is for us to be able to make this our livelihood, so we can do this 24/7.
Right.
It's what we're passionate about. But, that being said, for now, working the 9 to 5 and coming here and doing art afterwards, I mean, how lucky are we? Like, and when we talk about high school, I think about the fact that, like, my parents, I don't know that they ever thought they would do theater again after high school, and they loved it. And, that's, and we'll get into this on a separate episode too, but that's a lot of how this whole thing started. Is I didn't want to stop doing theater with my friends.
Exactly.
And that's where it stemmed from, is it, you go through high school and you do this extracurricular activity and you love it, and then it's like, okay, time to find a real job. And I was like, well, how do I make this a regular thing that I do? This can't be it. There's got to be more.
Right.
And the fact that we get even the privilege to just sit down and talk about this for hours, but also we get to spend time with people we care about, creating art.
Right.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's one of my favorite things to experience, is people who come in and they haven't done theater, since they were, like, in high school, and we're talking people that are, like, into their 30s now.
Yep.
And they come in, they want to do a show, and they're having a fantastic time, and they just keep coming back.
Yeah.
And it's when I see them come back again and again and again, and now they've become a regular part of what I expect to be the fabric of STS. Like, that is one of the most compelling reasons to keep going, is seeing that happen. Yeah. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. I always like to think, and you kind of brought this up, that I consider our company like an umbrella company now that we've gotten to the point where we're a full season, where there's literally room for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're offering so many opportunities for everybody.
Exactly.
All ages, all demographics, all groups are welcome, and there's a show here for you. There's something for you to do in the show. If you want to act, if you want to do tech, if you want to do...
Somebody could use a hand.
Somebody can use a hand, and we're always looking for new people to join us and to do our shows. And that's a culture that I'm really proud of, and I know you have to be proud of after everything that you both have put in this company.
100%. And we thought this was just to do theater. You know, and like I thought, we'll get a theater, we'll be doing this all the time, it'll be amazing. Right. And on a regular basis, and I know you've experienced this, I've had people come up to me, they haven't done a show in a while, they'll come up to me and they'll explain something like super traumatic that happened to them within the past 3 years, and they'll just be like, thank you for this. Like, this gave me the space I needed to process that. Right. And it's definitely like a strange mix of emotions when I hear stuff like that, because that isn't why we started the company, but it's grown into something that's so important to people. Right. And I know it's important to me. Like, every day I come in here and I'm like, I get to express myself, and I get to do things I love. And for me as a person, if I was, working the 9 to 5 and then just like lounging in the afternoons, like I don't know that would have been fulfilling enough for me.
Right.
So to have people express how healing this outlet has been for them is very like humbling experience. Yeah. And it's definitely grown into something that I think we all can be really proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
That is a lot.
I know.
That's a lot to unpack.
I know. That's why we, small town schmucks, we got a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, a lot of schmucking happening.
Well, people always ask us, like, how did this happen? And I give them the elevator pitch.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But this is an in-depth version of our thoughts and feelings about the company and how it happened.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So. Just the benefits of it and the support and the outlet. And I always like to say theater is a healing art, and it's just something that anybody can find a home in, anybody can find support or an opportunity in, whatever their skills may be. So.
That's the biggest thing, is anybody can find support. They can find a family in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. There's a group of people somewhere there that will accept you for who you are.
Yes.
No matter what. And it's great to be able to expand that and try to. I think there are people who have never interacted with theater in their entire lives who could really greatly benefit from it. Mm-hmm. I think all people have an innate desire to pretend and be
Tell
a part
stories.
and also collaborate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like so there's so many parts to it. Like if you're not comfortable being in front of people and speaking, there is so much that goes into getting the person on the stage in the first place. And all of those parts are such an important part of the collaborative process that makes theater what it is. Mm-hmm. And like when we started the company, like obviously we wanted to keep doing theater with our friends, but a big part of my drive is that I could not go anywhere and say, can I learn how to just like design lights for a show? They would ask me where my degree is, and I'm like, well, you could teach me, and they'd be like, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Which is totally fair, I guess. But when you lower the stakes, when the stakes are lower, you can allow people to learn things and have opportunities that otherwise they would have had to change their entire career path in order to do. Right? Like the fact that I can say, hey, person who's never done a mic check before, help me do a mic check.
Yep.
And then teach them something about how sound works, even though I'm still clueless. But like that, without people like that who believed that I could figure it out, I would not be the person I am today, for sure. So being able to provide opportunities for people to have that kind of saying, hey, you can do it. You don't know anything about it right now, and that's totally fine. Why would you? But you can actually do this, believe it or not. Yeah. Is such a big, like, I feel like people aren't hearing that, and it's kind of a problem. So
and that's such a good point you bring up, because at the beginning, the risks were very low. We didn't know what we were doing. We started from the ground up.
Exactly.
But now the risks are higher, and we've stuck to that original mission.
Yeah.
Like we all the time, our sound operator for multiple shows was 14, 15 years old when she was doing it. But you know what? She was really good at doing it.
She was good at doing it.
And, like, we gave her that opportunity. We give other people opportunities to learn how to direct and direct shows. And honestly, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what your gender is or whatever. It's like, you want to learn? Okay. You're going to shadow this person and you're going to learn.
You're going to figure it out. Yes.
And you don't get that. There's such with a lot of community theaters is such a like inner circle almost of like recycling the same people in the same positions. And if you want to learn something, you have to already know it to be able to get that position at that company. Yep. So that's also just something I'm really proud of, is even when our stakes got higher, we stuck to that belief of anyone can learn, and if you want to do it, you got the drive to do it, we'll give you the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we have people that are actively building sets for us for the past 5-6 shows that before working with the company had never used power tools before.
Yes.
Like straight up. So there you go.
Yes.
Like you can do it. Literally anybody can do it.
The
I
opportunities
promise.
are here.
The opportunities are here. We have so many opportunities. In fact, we may have too many. No, never too many.
Just growing pains.
Just growing pains.
Yeah.
Just growing pains. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I
Do
think
you have any
that...
other questions?
No, I don't. I think that wraps us up.
I agree. Yeah, I think we got through so many questions. Thank you, Dakota, for
did it.
joining us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a fellow schmuck with us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
No problem.
And we'll be sure to have you back when we unpack Greece.
Oh, great.
Because we got a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, see, you're getting back to the point where you're gonna have to start reminding me things. Like that's
Don't worry.
the point where I'm like, I remember being in front of bleachers, and there was a car, and that's it. So you gotta, and I think we gotta do a big fight.
Yeah. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
too. You know, we'll air out some dirty laundry on this podcast
just a little
for
bit.
sure.
I mean, we're well over it now. We were 17 years old, so it was not a significant burden.
18. We were 18.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. We were proper adults and we understood each other. And
Yeah,
we had
we
full
totally
emotional maturity
Yeah.
at the age of 18.
Our frontal lobes were fully developed,
yep.
and we were good.
Yep, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that changes everything. Yeah.
But thank you so much, and we'll definitely have you back.
Cool. Well, anytime. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for getting snarky with us. We'll see you later.
See you next time.